This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, Bruchim Haba, welcome everyone. Thank you everyone for coming. We want to welcome all the Torah Anytime viewers. This evening we're going to cut right to the chase. We have a very amazing issue at hand, and that is Megillas Esther. We're going to raise some questions perhaps we never thought about, and in doing so, we're going to gain a completely new and exciting perspective of the Purim story. Okay, we begin when Esther is putting her life in jeopardy, putting her life in danger to go into Achashverosh and plead for the lives of her people. So the pasuk says like this: Vayihi cherois hamelech es Esther hamalka. And it was when the king sees Esther. Esther comes in. We know Esther had some kind of Achashverosh had this sort of ridiculous policy that you cannot come in unannounced, and if you come in unannounced, then he doesn't lower the scepter. You know, you're a dead man. And Esther is risking herself, and he sees Esther in the palace room. She finds favor in his eyes. Achashverosh lowers the scepter. Vatikra Esther. Esther approaches. Vatiga berosh hasharvid. She touches the head of the scepter. Vayomer la hamelech. The king says to her, Malach Esther hamalka. What would you like? I'll give you anything. You want jewelry? I'll give you jewelry. You want a new pair of shoes? I'll give you a new pair of shoes. You want a new house? No problem. There's one thing I can't give you. Ad chatzi hamalchus v'inasin lach. Up to half the kingdom. Up to half the kingdom. Says the Gemara Masechta Megillah Daf Tesvav Amud Beis. What did Achashverosh mean? Up to half of the kingdom. Says the Gemara, look at number 2. Vayomer la hamelech li'Esther malka ma'bakashaseich ad chatzi hamalchus malchus v'seyos. Frek the Gemara, chatzi malchus lo'kol hamalchus. You know, once Achashverosh is being a sport, and he's saying, I'll give you anything, I'll give you up to half the malchus, so give her everything. What it costs him, anyway he's not going to do it. You know how you talk to your wife, right? You say, yeah, whatever you want, right? Whatever you want. So once he's being generous in the way he's speaking, why does he say up to half of the malchus? You know what she's going to say, and not the whole thing, right? So, if you laugh too loud, it's not good, right? Ad chatzi hamalchus, up to half the king, says the Gemara, Laidavar shechoitzeitz lamalchus. Not something that divides the malchus. Not that thing that stands at the midpoint of the malchus. Umay nihu. What stands in the midpoint of the malchus? Binyan beis hamikdash. In other words, Esther, whatever you want. You want a new credit card? You want a new car? No problem. But not the beis hamikdash. Rabbi say tonight we're going to learn 10 questions of Rabbi Yonasan Eibeschutz. Tonight's shiur is sponsored by my father, so we're going to dedicate it in honor of my father who introduced me when I was a kid to the Svarim of Rabbi Yonasan Eibeschutz, the Yaros Tavash. You can't have a Purim without the Svarim of the Yaros Tavash, and everybody wants to know, Rabbi, you already gave the shiur that Rabbi Yonasan Eibeschutz on the Megillah. Is it the same shiur? And I'm very insulted. Would I do that to you? Would I do that to you? So Rabbi said this year, it's a brand new, exciting Rabbi Yonasan Eibeschutz on the Megillah, and we know Rabbi Yonasan Eibeschutz lived from 1690 to 1764. He wrote many works, perhaps over 100 works. Many of them are in print, like the Urim V'Tumim, the Kwesi Uplesi, the Tiferes Yonasan, the Bnei Ahuva, and many Svarim and notes that his Talmidim, by the way, he was a Rosh Hashiva for more than 50 years, and all his Talmidim, even according to secular historians, Rabbi Yonasan Eibeschutz probably taught more than 24,000 students in the course of his career. And all of his Talmidim had notes. Now, where are these notes? Most of them are unpublished. They're in the great libraries of the world. You want to know where Rabbi Yonasan was a great Makubal. He wrote many works of Kabbalah. Where are they? Oxford University, St. Petersburg University. If you have an extra $100,000, you don't know what to do with it, contact these libraries and publish the Svarim of Rabbi Yonasan Eibeschutz. But many Svarim are sitting in libraries across the world. In any event, Rabbi Yonasan Eibeschutz asked the following question. Achashverosh has no idea where Esther comes from. He doesn't know if she's Italian, Japanese, French. He has no havamina she's a Jew. You know, Sam Sofer says that the Gemara says, "Vatihi Esther noises chen b'einei kol rayeha." Esther found favor in everybody's eyes. That means l'chol echad ve'echad nidma like umasai. Everyone thought Esther was one of them. So if you were a Persian, you thought Esther was a Persian. If you were Italian, you thought she was Italian. Everybody liked Esther because everyone thought she was one of them. And says Chassam Sofer, that was a big miracle. Because you know why Haman was never scared of Esther? Because Haman thought she's an Amaleki. And I would suggest that's why Achashverosh never thought she was a Jew. Achashverosh thought she was a Persian. Now here she is. They're married 5 years. Okay? Because you have to know, they got married, I believe, V'shna Sheva L'Malchusa, right? Vayehav HaMelech Es Esther Mikol HaNoshim was in the 7th year of his reign. The Purim story took place in the 12th year. V'shna Shtei Mesrei L'Melech Achashverosh Hipel Pur. So they're married 5 years. Never once did Esther come to Achashverosh, you know, Achashverosh, could you please build the Beis HaMikdash? It's not like at supper, every night she was nagging him to build a Beis HaMikdash. She never said the word Beis HaMikdash one time. She would never let on she was a Jew. So as far as Achashverosh is concerned, Esther has nothing to do with the Beis HaMikdash. So here she is. She hasn't been calling in 30 days. She's risking her life, obviously, to ask for something very important. Why would Achashverosh have a Havamina that, you know what Esther's coming to ask for? Oh, she's obviously coming to ask for the Beis HaMikdash, so I better tell her, I'll give you anything except for the Beis HaMikdash. Why would he even cholamzach? Why would he dream up that what she's coming for is to ask, why don't you build the Beis HaMikdash? So that's Rabbi Yonasan Eibeschutz' question. Look at number 3. He says, in the third line, Achashverosh has no idea who she is. Esther has never said a word about the Beis HaMikdash. So why would Achashverosh think that this is the urgent matter that she's coming in to ask him? Okay. Another question. If you notice in the Megillah, every time Esther comes to Achashverosh, she says, whatever you want, up to half the kingdom, I won't build the Beis HaMikdash. And as soon as Haman has a downfall, Achashverosh drops this Beis HaMikdash talk. Never again does he say, I'll do anything for you except the Beis HaMikdash. So what happened? After Haman died, after Haman was killed, Achashverosh was willing to build the Beis HaMikdash? If he's willing to build the Beis HaMikdash, then why didn't Esther say, Achashverosh says to Esther after Haman has a downfall, you could make any decree you want, whatever, your wish is my command. Right? You look on your sheets in number 11, Ches Ches and Esther. V'atem kisvu al Yehudim katoiv be'einechem b'shem HaMelech. You write whatever you want. Whatever you want, your wish is my command. Why wouldn't Esther say, hey, you know what? Build a Beis HaMikdash. Asked of Yonasan Eibeschutz, Miman of Shach. Did Achashverosh still maintain his position? He won't build a Beis HaMikdash? Or did he change his mind? If he still maintains his position, why doesn't he introduce every conversation he has with Esther again with, you know what? I'll give you anything, but Ad Chatzi HaMalchus. No. Ad Chatzi HaMalchus was only said to Esther before Haman's downfall. Once Haman had a downfall, never again does Achashverosh mention Ad Chatzi HaMalchus V'seyas. So if he's not going to mention it, why doesn't Esther ask for it? And if Achashverosh still will not build Beis HaMikdash, why doesn't he say anything? Okay. Another question. The Megillah begins that Achashverosh is celebrating, right? He's making a big Suda, Shmoinim Ma'asyoim, 180 days, and then in Shushan for 7 days. What's he celebrating? What's Achashverosh celebrating? He's celebrating the fact that the Beis HaMikdash was not built. The 70-year cheshbon, he had a 70-year calculation, and according to his calculation, the date that God promised the Beis HaMikdash was going to be built came and passed. So he made a party. Well, what's he so happy about? Why does Achashverosh care if the Beis HaMikdash is yes built, or the Beis HaMikdash is not built? Well, why could he care less? You think it's threatening to Achashverosh if the Jewish people have a Beis HaMikdash? He rules over the world. He rules over 127 Medinas. What do you think that means? You think that means that Achashverosh every day he visited a different country? You think Achashverosh, went to South America, to the Incas, and he said, you should know, Incas, I'm your king. I live in Persia, and I just came here today to let you know I'm your king. Of course not. somehow Achashverosh had governing bodies all over the world. He let everybody do their thing as long as they were loyal to him and they paid taxes. So why would Achashverosh care if the Jews built the Beis HaMikdash, didn't build it? You know, Achashverosh's father, Koresh, in the beginning of Ezra, Perek Aleph, Pasuk Gimel, Koresh says, hey Jews, go back to Israel, build the Beis HaMikdash. You know why? Because a Beis HaMikdash is not threatening to a king. Imagine, is it threatening to the U.S. government if Sfaradim are building, a shul on Ocean Parkway for 2,500 people? What are they going to do already? Say slichos every day? What are they going to do? What, it's a threat? It's a threat to the king? So you build a big shul. It's wonderful. They'll pledge their allegiance to the government. They're loyal. They'll pay taxes. A Beis HaMikdash is not threatening. Why would Achashverosh celebrate the fact that the Beis HaMikdash was not built? Why would he care? Why does it bother him? The Jews would continue to be loyal, and in fact, when the Beis HaMikdash was built, the Jews did not gain any authority. The Persian Empire was as strong as ever, and we were loyal to them. In fact, if you look at the dimensions of the second Beis HaMikdash, there was a picture, a golden image of Shushan Habira in the Beis HaMikdash, the Mishnah says in Midas. You know why? To declare the Jews' loyalty to the Persian Empire. So why would Achashverosh celebrate the Beis HaMikdash is built? It's not built. Also we find, the Gemara Megillah says on Daf Yudal and Amud Aleph that as much as Haman hated the Jews, Achashverosh wanted to kill us even more. And the Gemara says a very interesting analogy. The Gemara says in Megillah Yudalid, it's like a guy who had a mound of dirt in his field. He doesn't know what to do with the dirt. He doesn't know, he's thinking, how am I going to get rid of this dirt? I have to find a pit somewhere to dump my dirt into. There's another guy who has a big pit in his field. And he's thinking to himself, what am I going to do? There's a big hole in my field. Someone's going to fall in. So one day, these two guys, they meet each other. It's like a match made in heaven. The guy with the pit said, you won't believe it. I don't know what to do. I have extra dirt. The guy with the ditch says, you know what? I'll buy your dirt off you because I have a pit. I need to fill it up. So the guy with the dirt says, take it. Take it for free. Halavai, you take it for free. Says the Gemara, Achashverosh wanted to kill the Jews more than Haman. So when Haman comes and says, I'll pay you for the right to kill the Jews, Achashverosh says, pay me. Take them for free. Ask Rabbi Yonasan Eibeschutz, question number 3. Question number 4. Ask Rabbi Yonasan Eibeschutz, why would Achashverosh want to kill the Jews? Why would he want to kill the Jews? First of all, here Achashverosh rules over the world. By the way, I'm just giving you very important information now. If you want to rule over the world, you can't be a brutal dictator. Because as brutal as you are, you're not going to reach the far ends of the world. You have to set up a system where the people are willing to accept you as the king. Otherwise, it's not going to work. Maybe you could rule over, a specific area. But if you want to rule over the world, you need to set up a just system of laws that people are willing to accept. And obviously, Achashverosh was successful in doing that. So why would Achashverosh now want to kill the Jews? He's going to endanger his whole reputation as being a fair emperor. Well, what does he have against the Jews? The Jews are not bothering him. They're loyal citizens. They're paying their taxes because they keep Shabbos. Why does Achashverosh? I understand Haman. Haman's an Amaleki. It's in his DNA. But Achashverosh is a Persian. Why does Achashverosh want to kill the Jews? Especially, he's taken over for Koresh. Does anybody know who was Koresh's great advisor? Daniel. Daniel was his most faithful advisor, most loyal advisor. Daniel was put him on the right track. He upheld the Persian Empire. Yet Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, these were good guys. They're not embezzling money from the king. They were never on the front page of the New York Times. These are good guys, right? These people, these Jews were a Kiddush Hashem. Why would Achashverosh or Koresh have anything against? Why would he have anything against these Jews? So I understand Haman, but what's Achashverosh's problem? What's his problem? Says Rabbi Yonasan Eibeschutz, all of these questions the Mefarshim deal with, and nobody could hit the nail on the head. What is going on over here? Okay. Rabbi said we continue with what is, in my opinion, the strongest question on the Megillah. You ready for this? This guy Achashverosh is a meshugana like you never saw before. He's nuts. He says, they say, Achashverosh, there's this guy, Mordechai, he saved your skin, you never rewarded him. So Achashverosh says, I have to reward him. So one second, let me take off my robe, let me take off my crown, let him ride my royal horse, and everyone should proclaim before him, this is someone who the king wants to honor. What kind of lunacy is this? It's ridiculous. It's crazy. I mean, think about it. Imagine, the President of the United States. He's going to take off his suit and that red tie with the pin, and he's going to put it on somebody, and the guy's going to go Air Force One and do, president impersonations. And this is the covet? This is a covet? You want to honor someone? After you want to honor him, write Mordechai a check. Find out what yeshiva Mordechai is Rosh Yeshiva of. You can make a tax-deductible donation to the yeshiva. You could donate your car also to the yeshiva, right? You could write it off, tax-deductible. Why would Achashverosh, it's like a Purim spiel. Achashverosh is saying, I have to honor someone who saved my skin. What am I going to do? I'm going to dress him up in the royal clothing. First of all, no king in the right mind will let somebody wear the royal clothing. The halacha is, even in Malchus Beis David, anything the king used or wore, when he goes, you burn it. Nobody's allowed to use it. Nobody touches the royal items. And he's going to have a Jew. He hates Mordechai. In a few months, he's going to have Mordechai killed. So what kind of meshugana is this? It's not like he likes Mordechai. He agreed, he signed the document, he sealed the document, that Mordechai and the Jews, right? Mordechai was at the head. Mordechai and the Jews are going to be murdered on Yud Gimel Adar. And now, I owe him a favor, so I'll let him be me for a day. And by the way, Chazal add that on that day, Mordechai was the Melech. And not only was he the Melech, Achashverosh gave him the mint. And Mordechai minted coins. And you know what was on the coins? Not guys with, wigs, signing documents. No. On one side was a picture of Mordechai, and one side there was a picture of Esther. So Mordechai became king for a day. This guy, where he was reading, how to honor people, tales from Chelm. Where did Mordechai, where did he get this crazy idea from to let Mordechai wear the royal clothing? Okay. And then, Esther breaks the news. By the way, Achashverosh, there's this evil man. He wants to kill my people. So Achashverosh says, who is it? Haman! Haman! Kill him! And you, Esther, I love those Jews. Oh, those Jews. They're so cute. They really make me feel warm and fuzzy. You know what? Never mind the fact that I wanted to murder them. Now let them murder the enemy. This guy's schizophrenic. What changed exactly? Because he's married to a Jew? Since when? Throughout history, every emperor, every dictator marries a foreign woman, and he hates the people associated with that woman. Every dictator in history marries someone and hates who the nation she belongs to. So now all of a sudden Esther says, hey, I'm a Jew. Oh, you're a Jew? Now I love the Jews? Why does he love the Jews? Right? Rabbi Yonasan says, Hayafach kushi oiroi. We can't even translate that anymore, right? Right? But anyway, you can't... What's going on with this guy? What's going on with this guy? And then, at the end of the Megillah, we find, look at number 13, Ki Mordechai HaYehudi, Mishneh LaMelech Achashverosh, V'gadol HaYehudim, V'ratzoi L'roi V'echa. Mordechai the Jew was second in command. He was great to the Jews, and he was loved by most people. By the way, never say about a rabbi that everybody loves him. It's an insult. There's only one person who wanted to please everyone. Achashverosh. La'asos Kirtzoinish Va'ish. And you know what God said to Achashverosh? You want to please everyone? God says, even I can't please everyone. You're so insecure that you want to please everyone? It's a medrash. God says, I can't please everyone. You have one lady, two people want to marry. Can't cut her in half. I can't please everyone, Hashem says. So who do you think you are, Achashverosh? Mordechai was Ratzoi L'roi V'echav. Why Roi V'echav? Says Ibn Ezra, because if somebody does the right thing, not everyone's going to like them. And if everyone likes you, that means you're not doing the right thing. That's bottom line. But Chazal say a little bit differently. By the way, what I just said was from Ibn Ezra. Say Chazal Specifically, there were certain Talmidei Chachamim that had a problem with Mordechai. Says the Gemara in Megillah, Tezayin Beis, look at number 14. Ki Mordechai ha-Yehudi mishneh la-melech Achashverosh. He's second in command. V'gadol ha-Yehudim v'ratzoi l'roi v'echav. Frek the Gemara, l'roi v'echav l'roi kol echav. Not everyone loved him. Milamed shepirshu mimenu miksa Sanhedrin. We learn from here that some members of the Sanhedrin separated from Mordechai. They said, Mordechai, you don't know Ksubis the way you used to. You don't know Baba Kama the way you used to. Says the Gemara. Amar Rav Yosef, Gadol Talmud Torah, Yoser me'atzalas nefashais. Learning Torah is greater than saving lives. You hear that? Learning Torah is greater than... So let's say, you're on your way home, you meet your friend, you say, you wouldn't believe what I did today. I saved a Jewish life. You know what you should think? I did something greater. I came to the Shiur. Could you say such a thing? Yeah. That's what Hashem told us on Har Sinai. Through the Tar Shabbat Peh. Gadol Talmud Torah, Yoser me'atzalas nefashis. And in fact, the Gemara says that before Mordechai saved the Jews, he's ranked number 5 among Talmidei Chachamim. After he saved the Jews, he's ranked number 6. What? He went down because he saved the Jews? Yes. He went down because he saved the Jews. He wasn't learning as much. In fact, Rabbi Yonasan Eibeschutz, what was Mordechai doing? You think he got involved in, political intrigue? He was reading, he was getting involved with the councilmen and the assemblymen, what's going to be with the taxes. You think Mordechai closed his Gemara for 1 minute? Of course not. You know what happens, says Rabbi Yonasan Eibeschutz? He became a king. And you can't be on the Sanhedrin and be a king at the same time. These are two distinct branches in Judaism. Malchus, Sanhedrin. And because he became a king, the Sanhedrin said, you're a great guy, you're a big Talmid Chacham, you can't be on the Sanhedrin anymore because a melech can't sit on the Sanhedrin. But ask Rabbi Yonasan Eibeschutz, why would Mordechai want to be a king? He should have said, a king? What's politics compared to Torah? What's politics compared to real kavod? You think Mordechai got caught up in this stuff? Says Rabbi Yonasan Eibeschutz, why would Mordechai be interested in being a king? We find even, he was minting coins, he was making gzeiros on the people, he had a full-fledged status of, why would he do that? You know what he should say? Achashverosh, thanks, it was really a pleasure riding your horse, it was really, wonderful wearing your hat, but right now I have to go back to the yeshiva, I have to give shiur. What does he need it for? And then, what does Achashverosh have with Haman? He loves Haman so much, he makes him second in command. Why? Haman wasn't flattering him. He wasn't complimenting him. According to the pictures, it's not like Haman had, a winning smile. Haman was a good guy or anything. Why does Achashverosh like Haman so much that he makes him second? In fact, the Medrash says, every son of Haman was made a ruler, was made a dictator, was made a governor. Why does Achashverosh love Haman so much? What's so special about Haman? And then finally, Rabbi Sai, question number 10. Right? I think in Mishpacha magazine they have a feature, 10 questions, right? So, question number 10. Pasuk says in Yeshaya, Tachas hanatzutz yala b'rosh. In the place of the thorn arises the cypress. Tachas hasirpad. In the place of the nettle, yala hadas, arises the myrtle. V'haya la'Hashem l'shem. And God made a name for himself. Says the Gemara Megillah and Yudam and Beis. What does it mean instead of the thorn? Who's the thorn? Haman. Who's taking the place of Haman? The cypress, Mordechai. Who's the nettle, the sirpad? Vashti. Who takes over Vashti? Hadassah, Esther. V'haya la'Hashem l'shem. And who created a name for himself? God. How did he create a name for himself? Megillas Esther, says the Gemara Megillah Yudam and Beis. By the Megillas Esther, it makes a name for God. What? God's name is not in the Megillah. The one sefer that doesn't make a name for God is Megillas Esther. And yet, of all the words in Tanakh to describe Megillas Esther, it's V'haya Hashem L'Shem. You know where God's name is known from? Megillas Esther. That's the one book that God's name is not known from. How does God spread his name? Through Megillas Esther. Says of Yonasan Eibeschutz, if you know anything about ancient kings, you would know that they were very superstitious. And they had all kinds of necromancers and magicians and prophets, right? Even the Tsar in Russia had a kook guiding him, right? But anybody who knows anything about ancient Persian monarchs and kings knows they were very superstitious. They were constantly asking their magicians, what's going to be, what's going to be, what's going to be? And Achashverosh, no doubt, and says of Yonasan Eibeschutz, the one thing every king wanted to know is, who's going to be the next king? So Koresh, one day, he asks his magician, who's going to be the king after me? And they tell him, who's going to be the king after me? Who's going to be the king after you? A Persian monarch. So Koresh says, Gavaldik, good. I could rest ashore, I could sleep at night. The Persians will have continuity. So Achashverosh, when he becomes king, he goes to the magicians and necromancers. He says, who's going to be the next king of Persia? So the guy says, I see in the future, a Jew is going to be the next king of Persia. A Jew, Achashverosh says. What are they going to do to me? They're going to kill me. I know what those Jews are going to do. They're going to go back to the Beis HaMikdash, build their temple, become a world superpower, murder me, take over the world. My father loved the Jews, but that's because he knew I was going to be the next king. But I can't stand those Jews now, because now that I know the next king of Persia is going to be a Yid, I got to make sure that the Jews don't go back to Israel and rebuild the temple. So what does Achashverosh do? He joins up with Haman. And when Achashverosh finds out that the Beis HaMikdash is not being built, there's no happier guy in the world. But his own father allowed for the Beis HaMikdash. That's because his own father wasn't threatened by the Beis HaMikdash. But Achashverosh was, because Achashverosh thought the building of the Beis HaMikdash meant the ascendancy of the Jewish people and the usurping of his throne. So Achashverosh, when he finds out that the Jewish people that are not going to build a temple, he calls Haman. Haman says, by the way, Achashverosh, you know what I want to do? I want to kill the Jews. Achashverosh says, you came to the right guy, so do I. Because the Jews posed a threat, a different threat. Haman hated the Jews because he's Amalek. Achashverosh hated the Jews for practical reasons. He wanted to remain king. Achashverosh says, you're telling me every Medina that I add to my repertoire is just going to go to the Jews? Every dollar that I add to my repertoire, to my treasury is going to go to the Jews? Can't stand those guys. And then one night, he can't fall asleep. He's having a dream that someone's going to kill him. And he wakes up and he hears Haman is coming. And he said, that's it. Those Jews are coming to get me. So Haman says, well, I want to invite you to, and Achashverosh says, there's this guy I need to honor. What's it? And then Achashverosh says, I have a great idea. What was my dream? What did the magicians tell me? What did the necromancers say? The next king of Persia is going to be a Jew. I remember from Mitzrayim, he says, that if somebody has a dream or sees into the future, if that ominous portent could be fulfilled in a small way, it could just devolve on that thing, it could take effect on that thing, and then the dream is meaningless. For example, in Mitzrayim, the Mitzrim saw, right? Ri'u kira neged pneichem. The Mitzrim saw that when the Jews go out to the Midbar, they're going to be affected by blood. There's going to be a lot of bloodshed. So when the Jews crossed into Eretz Yisrael and they did the bris milah and the blood was spilling everywhere, the Rebbeinu Shalom says to Yeshua ben Nun, you have it on your sheets over here, number 19, Vayomer Hashem el Yehoshua, Hayoim galoisi es cherpas Mitzrayim aleichem. Today the shame of Egypt has been removed upon you. Why? Because the Egyptians saw that you're going to be stricken with blood. Taka you are. You're doing milah, blood is spilling, and that was the meaning of that effect in the constellations. You know what Achashverosh says? That's it. I don't know what to do. The next king of Persia is going to be a Jew? Mordechai, come. Mordechai says, what? Put on my crown, put on my royal robes, ride on my horse. You're the king of Persia. And you know what? Mint some coins today. Yeah, in 6 months we're going to kill you. But today you have to be the king of Persia. Mordechai says, what are you talking about? Meshugana. Achashverosh is a very smart guy. He figures if he makes Mordechai the king of Persia for a day, that will be the meaning of his dream. And then he could continue on with the rest of his life and rule Persia happily ever after. This was not insanity. This was the most ingenious trick Achashverosh was pulling. This would be how he fulfills the dream that the next king of Persia is going to be a Jew. Mordechai will be king of Persia for a day. So that's why Achashverosh says, Al tapel davar mikol asher dibarta, Haman, you better put every little thing that I wear, make sure nothing is missing. Because I want the dream to take effect on Mordechai. So Rabbi say, the story continues. He puts the royal crown on Mordechai. He puts the royal, actually the Gemara says the crown didn't make it, but the robes and the horse. Says Rabbi Yonasan, V'zehu kol inyan Achashverosh mitchilasai v'yad soifai. When Achashverosh, ready for the punchline? When Achashverosh hears Esther say, Achashverosh, there's a person who wants to kill me and my people. Achashverosh says, what are you? Esther says, I'm a Yid. Who wants to kill you? Haman. So Achashverosh says, you're a Jewish lady? That means my son Daryavesh is a Jew. Oh, the next king of Persia is a Jew. So I have no problem with the Jews anymore. I love the Jews. Haman, you want to kill my son. Get out of here. Kill Haman. Kill Amalek. I love the Jews. My father Koresh was the first to allow the Binyan Beis HaMikdash. I had no problem with the Beis HaMikdash. My problem with the Beis HaMikdash was, I thought that meant the Jews are going to reunite and usurp the throne. But now I see, yeah, Mordechai, you weren't the next king of Persia. It's my son, Daryavesh. Daryavesh was, by the way, I thought something really remarkable. Here, Achashverosh, in the beginning of the Megillah, what's he celebrating? He's celebrating the fact that the Beis HaMikdash is not being built. Okay? Look at the Hashgacha Pratis. Rebbe Shim's looking down from Shemaim. He's laughing. Achashverosh, you're celebrating that the Beis HaMikdash is not being built? Guess what? You see Vashti? Bam! She's out of the picture. You know who the next queen is? Esther. You know who her son is? Daryavesh. Guess what Daryavesh is going to do? He's going to build the Beis HaMikdash. So you're celebrating the Beis HaMikdash is not being built. And your celebration will be the cause of the Beis HaMikdash will be built. Hashem says, take that, Achashverosh. The celebration of the Beis HaMikdash not being built will cause the Beis HaMikdash to be built. That's what the Gemara says, Mineu bei Abba, Nezo bei Narga. Right? From the forest itself comes the handle for the axe. Right? Moshe Rabbeinu, Paro says, the Moshiach Shel Yisrael. Right? The Moshiach Shel Yisrael is going to be born. So I have to kill all the Jewish babies. Meanwhile, his own daughter brings Moshe into the palace. Paro is paying for all of his baby food, for his tuition. Paro raises Moshe Rabbeinu. Paro wants to kill the Jewish children because of Moshe and Israel. And Paro, Moshe is waking him up every night as a baby. So that's the Hashgacha Pratis over here. But the whole Megillah hinges on this point, that Achashverosh did not have inherent hatred for the Jewish people. It's all a matter of what he sees, what his necromancers are telling him that the next king of Persia is going to be a Jew. So Achashverosh thinks they're going to try to kill him. But now he's not going to try to kill him. He's going to marry Esther. They're going to have a nice Jewish boy. He's going to be the king of Persia, happily ever after. Says Rabbi Yonasan Eibeschutz, why did Achashverosh love Haman so much to begin with? So listen to this. The Gemara in Sanhedrin tells us on Avchaf Amabez. Take a look at number 22. Tanya Rabbi Yossi Omer. Shalosh mitzvos nitztavu Yisrael v'chnisasan la'aretz. When the Jews enter Eretz Yisrael, we have 3 mitzvahs. Number 1, make a king. Number 2, kill Amalek. Number 3, build a Beis HaMikdash. The Gemara says, in that order? Says the Gemara, yeah, in that order. First you need a king, like it says, Kiyad al Kes Ka, Kes is a melech. Then you destroy Amalek, then you build a Beis HaMikdash. Says Rabbi Yonasan Eibeschutz. That is why, in the history of Eretz Yisrael, first Shaul HaMelech is a melech, he kills Amalek, David HaMelech builds the Beis HaMikdash. Does anybody know, if you ever learned Sefer Ezra, in the beginning of Sefer Ezra, Koresh gives permission to the Jewish people to build the second Beis HaMikdash. Does it happen or does it not happen? Doesn't happen. Why not? So everyone thinks, well, because there was instigation and there were accusations for political reasons. No! Says Rabbi Yonasan Eibeschutz, the reason why the Beis HaMikdash was not built in the times of Koresh is because Amalek was still around. Not until David completely wipes out Amalek could they build, and of course not David HaMelech, in the times of the Megillah, not until Amalek was completely eradicated could they build the second Beis HaMikdash. So that's the order. You make a king, you destroy Amalek, you build the Beis HaMikdash. Says Rabbi Yonasan Eibeschutz, Achashverosh is sitting there in his palace, he's sittering. What's going to be? The next king of Persia is going to be a Jew. The Jews are going to try to kill me. What could I do to ensure that the Beis HaMikdash will never be built? Because after all, Achashverosh knows the building of the Beis HaMikdash means the ascendancy of the Jewish people. So Achashverosh says, there is one thing that's always a thorn in the side of the Beis HaMikdash. There is one thing that the more there is of this, the less likely the Beis HaMikdash will ever be built. Amalek! Haman! Come here. Haman, you're the second in command. Bring your kids. All you guys, all 208 of you, your governors, your officials, the more power Amalek has, the less likely the Beis HaMikdash will be built. Achashverosh didn't like Haman's smile. He probably couldn't stand his guts. Achashverosh only cared about one thing. Himself. And he knew that his Melucha was in jeopardy. Who was jeopardizing it? The Jewish people. There's only one thing he could do to stop it. Give Amalek power. The more power Amalek has, the less likely it is for him to go down the tubes. So now, says Rabbi Yonasan Eibeschutz, Achashverosh had no idea who Esther was. He didn't know she was a Jew. But he says, when you're married to someone, you know exactly what they like and what they don't like. Very quickly. Right? You know exactly. And Achashverosh sees that Esther cannot stand Haman. Every time Haman comes into the room, all of a sudden Esther, she's nauseous, she's getting a headache, all kinds of symptoms. Every time Haman comes into the room, Esther can't stand the guy. So Achashverosh doesn't know why, but one thing he knows is that Esther can't stand Haman. So Achashverosh says to Esther every day, Esther, you're wonderful. I love you. But there's one person I love more. Me! And you don't like Haman. I like Haman. Because Haman means every day I see Haman, that's another year on my throne. So when Achashverosh sees Esther come into the room, he says, Esther, I'll give you whatever you want. But don't talk about Haman. Do not build, we're not going to let you build the Beis HaMikdash. Building the Beis HaMikdash means the downfall of Haman. He says, Esther, I know, I'll give you whatever you want, but there's one thing I know you don't like that I can't give you. Ad Chatzi HaMalchus, I can't build the Beis HaMikdash. Building the Beis HaMikdash means the downfall of Haman. The downfall of Haman means I will not continue to sit on the throne. But as soon as he finds out, Rabbi Isai, that he doesn't need Haman anymore, because the next king of Persia will be his son Darius. He doesn't need Haman. So he says, he never utters again in the whole Megillah, Ad Chatzi HaMalchus. He has no problem. Only until Haman had his downfall, he says, Ad Chatzi HaMalchus, Ad Chatzi HaMalchus. Because he needed Haman. Haman was a very important player to him. Once Haman has a downfall, he doesn't need him anymore. Achashverosh is fine with the Jewish people building the Beis HaMikdash. Why did Mordechai and Esther ask for it? They don't have to ask for it. It's obvious. Kairosh allowed them. Achashverosh's only problem was because he needed Haman. He doesn't need Haman anymore. It's only a matter of time. And in fact, a few years later, they went up without any permission. If you learn Sefer Ezra, you'll see when they built the second Beis HaMikdash, they did not get permission. They just went and did it. Nobody would interfere. Why would anyone interfere? Why is the Beis HaMikdash threatening to anybody? So how, Rabbi Isai, how is Megillas Esther, how does that create a name for Hashem? Very simple. Megillas Esther is the story of the downfall of Amalek. When Amalek disappears, the name of Hashem is complete. Ki Yod Al Kes Ka. Now Hashem's name is not Yod K, it's Yod K Vav K. God's name is complete. The Megillah brings fulfillment to the name of the Ribbon Shalom. Says Rabbi Yonasan Eibeschutz, one last thing. Why did Mordechai insist on remaining king to the point where the Sanhedrin had to separate from him, right? The Sanhedrin said, sorry Mordechai, you can't be on the Sanhedrin if you're a king. So Mordechai should have said, so who needs it? Mordechai needed to be the king and he did it l'shem shamayim. Why? Because what are the 3 mitzvahs that we have to do as we enter Eretz Yisrael? Melech, kill Amalek, build a Beis HaMikdash. Says Mordechai, if I'm going to be God's tool to destroy Amalek, I need to have a certain title. And that is, I need to be the Melech. And the same way the Shaul was the Melech. What do you mean? Did he usurp it from Malchus Beis David? No, he's just the predecessor. He's paving the way. He has to destroy Amalek so that Malchus Beis David could build a Beis HaMikdash. Mordechai needed to be the king, but it came at the expense of his learning. Mordechai says, for the sake of Klal Yisrael, I'll give up my personal status of a Talmid Chacham, my personal connection to the Sanhedrin, because only a Melech could destroy Amalek. So Rabbi Isai, you know why Achashverosh, going back to the questions, you know why Achashverosh thought Esther would ask about the Beis HaMikdash? Because Achashverosh knew that Esther could not stand Haman. And the building of the Beis HaMikdash meant the downfall of Haman. And that is why once Haman has a downfall, never again does Achashverosh mention Archatzi HaMalchus V'Seyas. And that is why in the beginning of the Megillah, Achashverosh was very happy the Beis HaMikdash was not being built. That meant longer reign for him. And that's why he wanted to kill the Jews. He didn't hate them. They were jeopardizing his Melucha. And that is why Achashverosh wanted to make Mordechai the king. Because if the next king of Persia will be a Jew, maybe he'll be able to fulfill it in this way. And that is why Achashverosh loved Haman so much. He didn't love Haman. Haman would be the thorn in the side of the Jews that would ensure the continuity of his Melucha. Why did Mordechai want to be the king? Mordechai wanted to be the king because only the king could eradicate Amalek. Once Amalek is eradicated from the world, God's name is complete. Says the Gemara in Megillah, V'haya Hashem Lashem. What document shows the name of Ribbon Shalom? That's Megillas Esther. Megillas Esther talks about the downfall of Amalek. That enhances the name of Hashem, glorifies the name of Hashem. Rabbi Glatstein, thank you for coming, thank you for listening. And Mirz Hashem, Afelechem Purim Haba Aleinu L'Tova.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.